For me, a good acoustic guitar string really lets the instrument speak. I've been playing D'Addario strings pretty much since I first started to play. I don't have to worry about them dying after one show. I just like the way they sound.
Hey everyone, this is Chris Kies for Premier Guitar. Today I'm joined by Michael Lemmo, and you guys probably recognize him, or hopefully recognize him, from Norm's Rare Guitars.
That's correct.
Guitar of the Day guy, right?
Yes, Guitar of the Day after Mark Ignacy.
Yeah.
I took over. It was definitely a nerve-wracking change of positions, but I've been doing it for a while now, and it's been great meeting people all over the world from it, and I got to jam with all these great guitar players. So.
Yeah, what's the experience like being at Norm's? It's one thing to be, a guitar store employee, whether it's a Guitar Center, Sam Ash, or whatever favorite guitar store we can insert there, but like Norm's is a destination store. So not only do you get great, people just random people like me or Perry or Jared over there, but you get Joe Bonamassa stopping in, Richie Sambora, Orianthi. Like, what's the experience like?
I've heard a lot of people say it's like a barbershop in there. It's kind of, it's really like, it's very hands-on. Like you walk in, nothing's planned, really. I mean, obviously we know we're going to do Guitar of the Day, but we kind of like find when we can do it and all those hours and stuff. But with Joe Bonamassa, he was actually there on, right before I left, and he just came in, brought a Dumble that he got.
Oh, wow.
It was like the first Overdrive Special with reverb, and he got it from Little Feat. So just stuff like that happening, and then you're jamming with him, and customers come up and they get to talk to him. Everybody gets to hang out. So it's not like a kind of off limits area, and you can really get to see these vintage guitars up close.
Yeah.
And play them, and so it's fun. And of course, there's no one like Norman.
Yeah.
So. He always brings a vibe, and he has such an organic kind of like the beginning of rock and roll vibe where he just loves music, loves people, and it's just a pleasure. But it's a loony bin.
It's funny, I've never met Norm, but I've only corresponded through watching the videos, and it just seemed he's such an ambassador for the music, guitar-related music, but also the instrument. It's something that, like, I say this in the best, kindest way possible. He's like a mascot, a real champion of what we all love. He
is, and he would be the first to say no, but it is true. And Norman is he's been around everyone.
Yeah.
And like you said, his first and foremost favorite thing is music. I've been with him. He's probably going to kill me for saying this, but I've been with him at house party, family parties. If you're not talking guitars, he gets quiet. But when you talk about guitars, he lights up, and it's his passion.
Yeah.
And he doesn't need to be there anymore, but he still shows up every day to work because he loves it so much. So
That's awesome.
He's passionate.
Now, how did you fall into that family with the store?
So Norman's son Jordan saw me play when I first walked in. I just was a customer playing, and this is how a lot of this happens at Norman's. Just playing, trying out guitars. I was actually looking for my first Jazzmaster, and I think it was like 2012, 2013. I think there's even a video, and I have a J. Mascis Jazzmaster, the purple sparkle one.
Okay.
And his son came up to me and said, "Who are you?" And he's like, "My dad's got to hear you." He pulls Norm out of the office, and they just loved my playing right away and put me on video and stuff. And we always kept in touch because Norm is one of those people in LA that will really go to bat for you, you know, which, you know, you get a lot of relationships. Oh, I got you. I'll see you in a week. And you never see him or whatever.
Yeah.
Norm would always stay in contact, and we just stayed in touch. And my band that I moved out to LA with split up, and I was looking for work to stay out in LA. And I went to Norm. I said, Norm, you know, I'm thinking about going home. And he said, well, you can work like 3 days. I'll be out of town for the weekend. And he called me at the end of the weekend and said, you know what, stay. And then after that, I was just doing what they called the Lemmo demos.
Yeah, yeah.
And they were kind of like affordable favorites because Mark Ignacy did all the Guitar of the Days. And then before we knew it, a couple years in, Mark got picked up by Gibson. And then I'll never forget, Norm said, well, now you're doing Guitar of the Day. And if you watch the first episode, I'm like a robot. I'm like so nervous and freaking out. And I still get nervous too because it's a big responsibility.
Yeah.
And you know, it's a lot of videos. So you know, sometimes you throw out stuff that you're like, oh man, I wish I could do better. But it's a lot. But yeah, that's how I started working there. And it just ever since I've been still there.
Yeah, well,
and he lets me go on the road, which we're here. So.
Yeah, that's a huge perk.
Yeah, it's huge.
Now, before we actually get into your rig, I know people are here to see that, but I feel like this conversation is needed and it's encouraged. Is that what is one of the things that jumps out? I ask you, first off, top of your head, what's the most memorable experience that you've had working through Norms? Whether it's an interaction or, you know.
Wow.
I know that Susan had gifted you a
Jag. That was the first one that probably came to mind. Was the first gift of the Jaguar, the Fiesta Red Jaguar.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I was new to doing Guitar of the Day. I was nervous, didn't know if people were digging it or not, and getting used to it. And then that happened, and then I was gifted a lot of other guitars too. I have a '64 blue Jazzmaster I was gifted, a '62 white Jazzmaster.
Wow.
But Susan really started it, and I had never met Susan, and it was just an act of kindness. We call her kind of like an angel of the store.
Yeah.
And it was my first vintage instrument. I'll never forget, I walked in and they were doing Guitar of the Day, and I had no idea, and they opened it up and they're like, well, it's yours. And so I'll never forget that, because even for Norm, who's seen a lot of that store, he's seen everything, he was like, I've never seen this.
Wow.
So that was definitely a very a good memory for the store. But there's lots of them. I mean, even my first sale on Guitar of the Day, when I was all nervous, went to Slash. He bought it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was a bass 6. And I'll never forget. I'll never forget Jen, who shoots our videos. She's amazing, and she was like, "Mike, Slash is on the phone for you." And I'm like, "No." And then he ended up buying 2 bass 6s, but he bought the first Guitar of the Day.
Wow.
And came in and endorsed it, so it was very nice of him.
Oh, cool. Now, since then, have you gotten to meet Susan, the angel?
I've never met Susan.
Really?
And only because we were actually stopped in San Francisco, which is the area she's in, and we were just on tour, and she was out of town, but we talk a lot, and
oh, cool.
And yeah, our paths are gonna cross.
Awesome.
Yeah.